For community, civic media broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. Here's what you need to know in Southeast Wisconsin. Aldermen in Milwaukee recently faced public opposition to the proposed new sales tax during a public meeting, with many attendees expressing dissatisfaction. During a public listening session, many were angered by the associated spending limits. Milwaukee is expediting the approval of the sales tax to prevent significant budget cuts or bankruptcy. Some aldermen are discussing the possibility of legal action to challenge the spending restrictions imposed by lawmakers alongside the new tax. Students at Waukesha North and South will be working together next year. The Waukesha School Board says the girls' basketball teams from North and South will combine for a co-op team. A number of other sports have had to combine due to falling enrollment and interest. For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Attention, Wisconsin veterans.
Hello, I'm Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin. If you are a veteran struggling to pay for rent, utilities, or other life-sustaining services, I want you to know that the Veterans Rental Assistance Program is here to help. You have already made a most noble sacrifice. You shouldn't have to continue doing so. We are here to support you. The Veterans Rental Assistance Program was created by and for people living in Wisconsin, with benefit approvals being issued to veterans in just days, not months. It's never easy to ask for assistance, but rest assured, we're here to help. You've always been there for us. We want you to know that we're here for you. Call 833-WIS-VRAP. That's 833-947-8727, or visit vrapwi.com. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, thank you.
One call can do it all. Your business's message can be broadcast across the entire state of Wisconsin through the Civic Media network of stations, or we can focus the campaign in your hometown. We have the flexibility. You have the control. Civic Media, 608-819-8255.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The...
What if I just, instead of giving out the talk and text line, just started giving up Robin Voss's number all the time? 844-96-party. What is it?
Write it down. 608-237-9163. Call now.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin! Who gets to be the arbiter of truth on social media now? Is it just up to each platform to figure out what they think the truth is and what they're going to focus their content moderation on? Because now, according to a judge,
A Trump-appointed
judge. Well, it's actually, the ruling has not come down yet. It's just the injunction. But it's kind of, I feel like this went out of the radar a little bit. But in a major First Amendment case earlier this week, a Trump-appointed federal judge in Louisiana blocked certain agencies in the Biden administration, including the FBI, the Department of Health and Human Services, the CDC, Department of Justice, from talking to social media companies about content containing protected free speech. And I'm just interested because this is already on the heels of social media companies beginning to unwind some of the programs created to address disinformation. So, I mean, most notably, probably we can say Elon Musk, since he took over Twitter, made huge cuts to their trust and safety division. They've increased their reliance on community notes, which is basically crowdsourced fact checking. Meta, obviously the parent company, Facebook and Instagram, they laid off staff working in content moderation amid financial pressure. I know YouTube has rolled back what they will or will not allow on the platform. And for years, though, this is like going on 10 years, so multiple administrations, executive agencies have been working with social media companies to arm them with the correct information as they make choices about content moderation. But now this is going to change that. And so I guess I'm left asking your opinion of, in a time when we're trying to, I think we want to curb misinformation and disinformation while balancing free speech. Who gets to be, where's the line? What is the truth, and who gets to decide whether or not this is accurate or not? And I'm not convinced that the government is, because I think there's, you study history enough and the government doesn't always have the truth in mind.
This is true. Yes.
But it's just, this case makes it feel like it also opens it up back to just more Wild West. What is real, what is not, and it's just up to whoever is in charge of content moderation on these platforms. So 844-967-2789. Who should be the arbiter of truth on social media platforms? Is it just left up to the bosses of those companies? What do you think, Jane Manner?
I think there's several different ways to look at this. And certainly the free speech issue is very important. At the same time, in the last 8 years, the amount of disinformation that has spread on social media about so many different things. But the thing that comes to mind most prominently for me is all the vaccine disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked before about the number of stories I did with experts about ivermectin and drinking bleach and all of these other things which are bad for you. And I think allowing stuff like that to just go out there completely unencumbered is dangerous. I do.
But is it free? I mean, but is it free speech?
Well, if you want to drink bleach, I guess you go ahead. But
is it just Darwinian? The Darwinian games.
But if that's what they want, then we need to take warning labels off of everything. If we're just going to go back to Darwin, good luck. Then take the warning labels off of food products. Take away all the warning labels, including don't eat the pizza when it's frozen.
Is there a warning label that says don't eat the pizza when it's frozen?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know. What will get you sick in there?
Well, but again, remove cardboard before placing in oven.
Do not put baby in plastic tub.
And leave. So I don't know where that line should be, but I think this flow of completely unfettered BS is dangerous.
I definitely think it's dangerous, and I definitely think ultimately this is what the companies do. Like, as a platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, like, these are not companies that create their own content. They only rely on the content being created by their users, and their job is to make sure that the platform works and is user friendly and is, fun to be on.
Right.
And part of being fun to be on or informative or valuable is creating a space where people, and depending on what platform you're on, if you're on something like 4chan, that is unfettered, uncensored shit or whatever, that is the value you get out of there, being able to say whatever you want. I think a lot of us who are also like kind of disenchanted with Twitter right now are feeling like, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. Like, this doesn't feel that fun. And so, like, you ultimately potentially can be losing users by not having your content moderation guidelines create a space where people want to be. And maybe that is, like free market thoughts of as far as like, this is the choices you make as a company. So maybe that is the answer. It's up to the company. But it also is just dangerous. I mean, it's also just dangerous because the media literacy of the average person, I'm not convinced is always that high. And I see this even from, I have people who leave comments on my content that I put online, some of whom school me and are obviously but have more information and better information than I do on certain topics that I sometimes talk about. And then there's some people who don't know the difference between the US Senate and the state Senate. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, that means you're dumb. It just means like, oh, like that you need more information. And so like you're making assumptions without full information. And that's not even that bad of an example as far as people leaving comments thinking that they know when they don't. But media literacy is a thing when you're like perpetually online. And so whose responsibility does it become to vulnerable users to make sure that there is some modicum of truth to what gets posted?
Can't we send all the people who want to ingest ivermectin and bleach? Can't they just all go to the 4chan and then send them all
Or
there?
Truth Social?
Yeah, or Truth Social.
I mean, I think there's probably a lot of them there already.
Oh no,
I've never set foot on 4chan. I have no idea what it looks like or what it feels like, but I've just heard
Yeah.
that it's
I've heard also.
it's something.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear from you as far as where do you feel like whose responsibility is it for content moderation and also for the truth when it comes to our existence on social media? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-party. Because we're talking about this because on Tuesday, on the 4th of July, a federal judge blocked the Biden administration and certain key agencies and officials from meeting and communicating with social media companies. And it's pretty extraordinary. This was an injunction, not a ruling, in an ongoing case that could have a huge effects on the First Amendment. And so it came as a response to a lawsuit brought by Republican attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri, who basically alleged that the government officials went too far in their efforts to encourage social media companies to address posts that they were worried contributed to vaccine hesitancy during the pandemic or the elections. And now this injunction and probably most likely upcoming ruling could undo years, basically a decade worth of effort to enhance coordination between government and social media companies, because they've been working in criminal activity that includes child sexual abuse and terrorism, trafficking. There's a lot more things that the government has been communicating with social media on beyond vaccine information and election truthyism. And this started before the Biden administration. This is not just something that is unique to the pandemic, to the 2020 election. This is something that's been ongoing because it's that important, because social media companies play such a huge role in how information gets disseminated in our culture. And so if this is now going to change what that dynamic and relationship can be of where social media companies are getting what they, I guess up until now, would seem to be the best information from public health agencies, from the Department of Justice, where do they get that information from to make their decisions on for content moderation? 844-967-2789. We got a message on the YouTube live from Tony Zimmerman. I think in my media courses in college, we talked about how the younger you are, the higher your media literacy is. So that's good.
Well, I think we can tell by the number of seniors who have fallen just for scams. I think young people, I would hope for the most part, are a little bit more savvy.
I don't know. I won't out which family member it was, but he was pretty young when he fell for a Nigerian prince who wanted to buy his car.
You mean that didn't happen?
This was back in like 2002
Oh,
or 2003. He
no.
got scammed and he was not 21 yet. So
Valuable lesson
valuable
learned.
lesson there. All right. Well, we got to take a break, but would love to hear from you on this topic. Without the government involvement, who should be the arbiter of truth on social media? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. We'll be right back.
People call me on the phone, I'm trying to avoid. But can the people on TV see me, or am I just paranoid? When I'm in the shower, I'm afraid to wash my hair, cause I might open my eyes and find someone standing there.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
Hi, I'm Mandy Roberts, financial advisor with Thrivent. I'm here to help you assess your finances and find solutions to meet your needs. Let's ensure you have a strategy for success. To get started, call 715-470-1303. That's 715-470-1303.
This summer, 540 AM WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Gravedigger. Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show. On 540 AM WAUK.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Download the Civic Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store, then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. High temperatures reach up to 78 this afternoon under partly cloudy skies, easterly winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Cloudy skies tonight, chance for scattered rain showers, lows dip down to about 59. Chance for scattered rain showers again tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 77. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 72 degrees.
Well, welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and happy Friday. It's going to be beautiful this weekend.
It
Finally,
is.
the heat broke.
We could still
and-
use some more rain. I would take
Are
some
we going to
rain.
get some?
They say maybe tonight and tomorrow. Nothing like Wednesday.
Well, hopefully it's not raining in Governor Dodge because we are camping.
Oh, you're camping?
I'm camping, almost 7 months pregnant. So no one ever tell me that I am soft.
A princess?
Yes, a princess. I am.
You're going to sleep on the ground with that belly?
I'm going to sleep on an egg crate and an air mattress inside of a tent. And if it doesn't work tonight, I'm checking into a Motel 6. We've already checked, and there's one close by. And I will, we're going to test the waters tonight and see how it goes.
I would think that would be mildly uncomfortable.
So
I mean, even sleeping in your own bed, things have got to. Is it starting to be a little less comfy?
I'm a pretty hard sleeper. So far I've yet to be like just restless nights. Because I can't find a comfortable position. So we're gonna test it out. But yeah, this is an annual trip with Mike and his siblings and his cousins. And I'm gonna go. But I did say, I was like, I reserve the right to sleep elsewhere.
It's a pregnancy contingency
Yes,
plan.
and everyone understood.
Oh, for
Everyone,
sure.
most of the other women who have gone have had babies, and so they're like, yeah, that's fine.
That's cool.
I will not get made fun of for being soft. All right, so we were talking about who gets to be the arbiter of truth on social media, and I don't know if anyone has an answer to this because I've yet to get any texts or calls from people answering it. And the truth is, I don't think I have an answer either. I mean, it seems like it's going to be left up to the private companies because this is what we always talk about, right? Is that free speech protects you from being arrested for what you say. You're allowed to say it, but you're not necessarily allowed to say it on a private company's platform that you sign
Right.
user agreements in order to use, right? Like, so if it ends up just being up to them, I just don't know if I trust them as I said before. Like, Elon Musk has let go of so many of the people who were in the department that were in charge of this, as has Meta. I don't know what the department looks like at Google. So it's like you're trusting companies to have the investments and the resources to be the truth tellers, or at least be able to decipher what is too egregious or too untrue that they don't want it on the platform because they're taking responsibility for it. Versus, because it's still not the same standards to what a newspaper does. They're not held to the standards of what can and cannot be published as far as how true, like if it's real or not real. And it's still this really murky area of what they're allowed to do. But without, and I'm not defending that the government always is on the side of the truth, which is why we have newspapers to
call them on
it.
Yep.
But at least some of these agencies certainly have more information on diseases and criminal activity and trafficking and a lot of stuff that like ends up going through. And we've talked about this on this show as far as Facebook and some of these outlets being major hubs for trafficking young girls and grooming them and basically recruiting them. And so it is interesting to sever those ties and think that there's not going to be ramifications and that these companies have the resources to just do it solo.
But again, why is it in a company's best interest to allow go drink bleach on their site? How does that? I fail to understand why that is good for them. If they only care about traffic, getting traffic and getting hits, I guess. But if you become known for allowing this profligation of BS, how does that work for you as a company? They don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Beyond the moral or ethical side of it, I don't know why it necessarily hurts them either. Like, besides potentially losing a couple of users because they might die
from drinking bleach.
From drinking bleach. Yeah. But I don't know. And so this story, I saved this since Tuesday, and I was surprised I didn't really hear anyone else talk about it because it feels like it's kind of a big deal. And it's going, especially as we go into the election that is already being talked about, of like how much disinformation there's going to be, how much AI generated content that's just completely fabricated and made up there's going to be, and what any of us can do to arm ourselves to try to understand like what we're seeing is real or not real. And so to have this case come down and this ruling about to come down prior to next year's election feels like, oh man, this feels like we're potentially continuing to further open Pandora's box.
I don't disagree with you.
So, all right. Well, I misspoke yesterday. I got my weeks flipped up. But yesterday I said that Phil Nee from WRCE is going to be on. That's next week. Phil's going to be on next week. Chad Holmes from The Chad Holmes Show on WXCO, Bull Falls Radio up there in Wausau, 98.9 FM, 12:30 a.m. He is going to join us when we come back from the break. He's going to let us know what he thinks is the the best, the worst, and the weirdest stories of the week. And then at the following segment, we got our weekly quiz, which you're welcome to play along with. But for now, we're going to take a break, and Chad Holmes will be here when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Cruz. 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
CBS News Brief. The June employment report from the Labor Department is out. It shows 209,000 jobs were added last month. Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global Investments, Bob Dahl.
First, less than expected number in 15 months. The economy, now labor included, is showing some signs of weakening.
It's hot out there. Yesterday set another record for global average temperature, and there's not much relief in sight today for people like Neil James, who paves roads in Pennsylvania.
It's pretty tough because being at the asphalt's over 300 degrees, and then you work in battle in the heat that's, typically over a 90-degree day like this. It becomes a challenge throughout the day.
LGBTQ businesses in Montana have challenged the state's law banning drag queen story hour.
A new federal lawsuit argues the law violates the free speech and equal protection guarantees in the U.S. Constitution.
Jim Crisula reporting. CBS News Brief, I'm Wendy Gillette.
Continue the conversation online. Find and follow Civic Media on Facebook and on Twitter.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. Here's what you need to know in Southeast Wisconsin. Mugwanago school leaders have pledged to challenge a federal judge's decision that overturned their bathroom policy. The judge ruled that the policy, which mandated students to use bathrooms based on their biological sex, discriminates against a transgendered student. In response, the superintendent in Mugwanago has stated their intention to appeal and maintain their current bathroom policy. It's free and easy into a popular local place to recreate. Pete Schwaba has more.
Those heading into Walworth County for some time on Geneva Lake are doing so without construction. The state DOT says the resurfacing project on Highway 67 in Williams Bay has been successfully completed. It's also free and clear in Kenosha with the reopening of the busy Highway 50 east of the interstate. It's the opposite in Waukesha County with work recently starting at Moreland and I-94.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Living happily ever after isn't always a reality. If you're over 50 and are considering divorce, attorney Andrea Gage with the Everson Law Firm can provide the guidance you need. Andrea focuses on silver divorces, the kind that get more complicated over time and present unique challenges. A family, multiple properties, significant assets. Andrea and the team at Everson Law have the experience to protect your interests. Call Everson Law to set up an appointment with Andrea today. It's never too late to be happy. Everson Law, 920-435-3734.
If you're searching for top-notch electrical service for your commercial or industrial property, connect with Current Electric in Wauwatosa. Current Electric offers a wide array of electrical services to clients in Milwaukee and the surrounding areas, celebrating 40 years of energizing and illuminating lives in southeastern Wisconsin. Their dedicated team of superheroes can help with everything from parking lot lighting upgrades to office and business LED conversions, EV chargers to service upgrades. Call 262-295-2815 or log on to callcurrent.com. This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Cruz. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
It's never personal, only politics. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show with Dom and Cruz. Weekdays from 4 until 6 on your...
I'm here in Wausau, Wisconsin, USA. I should be happy as a man can be. I can hunt and I can hike and I can fish and I can bike, and in the wintertime I can ski. But I'm staring at my shoes.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. And our guest for the next half hour is our friend, our colleague, Chad Holmes of the Chad Holmes Show on WXCO, Bull Falls Radio, up in Wausau. You can listen to him 8 to 10 a.m. every day, new time slot. And so you had a little bit of a break, and now you're with us. But how's it going, Chad?
Doing good, except I feel like back in school when you'd have to get ready for a test. Because I know there's a test coming up, and I am scared to death to not to fail my test. I got to be ready to go here. So
it's not a test. It's a little bit of a quiz. And you're someone, you talk about the news every day, don't you?
I do. Yes, I do.
So it's multiple choice too.
It's multiple choice. It's so it's just headlines. It's just fun headlines. So you'll be fine.
I went away on vacation. I sort of tuned off a little bit last week. So I've been back into it this week. So I just hope that I'm back into the rhythm and be able to at least sound somewhat intelligent. That's my goal. Every time I open up a microphone, sound somewhat intelligent.
How was your vacation?
It was great. It was just great to get away. It'd been a long time. I had not taken any time off in a year. That's my problem.
Oh, wow.
Because I know I'm like one of these people that I always leave vacation on the table, and it's silly. And it's so good to get away and just to recharge. And by the time you get back, you're ready to go again. I'm one of those people where it's like, boy, I'm ready to get back to work and get back to doing what I like to do. So it was great to get away, and it was great to be back as well this week.
Absolutely.
Don't do that, folks. Use your vacation.
Exactly.
You earned it. You earned it.
Even if you don't go anywhere.
Exactly. Do a staycation, whatever.
Just don't go to work for a couple days.
Exactly.
Recharge.
And it makes you better when you do get back to work.
Absolutely. Makes you less resentful, right? You're like, I kind of miss some of you people. You still drive me nuts, but I was like, I also missed you.
And hopefully they missed me as well. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a combination of different things.
All right. Well, this is the time of the week that we ask our guest, our Civic Media crossover guest, other hosts from other shows across the Civic Media Network, their best, worst, and weirdest stories of the week. So I guess Chad, let's start with the best. What was the best story that you saw this week?
I thought the best story for me was seeing the governor get under the skin of Robin Voss, because I always enjoy seeing that happen. It's like when I heard that he had extended the school funding for 400 years, my first thought is that has to just totally annoy Robin Voss. And Robin fell into the trap yesterday. And, we can't trust him anymore. Mr. Trust Robin Voss. Okay. But that was my best story of the week.
The fact that they're all saying he's such a liar and he lied and he didn't campaign. It's just, you've got to be kidding me, gavel in and out.
Well, I mean, this is politics, right? But it is the attempt to assume that most people have short memories, and that if they just talk about what happened yesterday instead of talking about the long history of distrust between the two parties, specifically the players in both parties, and who's done what for how long, and the examples you can throw out. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? What about when Scott Walker had a 1,000-year extension to, what was it that you can't, there was also something with schools. I was reading about it yesterday as far as you can't, there was something with school referendums in 2017 that he changed it from 2018 to 3018. And, and Tommy Thompson with 451 or 57, line item vetoes back in 1991 and stuff like that. So you can go back a pretty long ways of saying who's done what and how bad is it.
And Tommy was the master. He would go in there and change letters and just, I mean, he was literally like a surgeon in there, where it was like completely changed the meaning of the bill in the most, you would call it brilliant way. But he was just
Depending
the
on which side
master.
you are, you called it
Yeah,
brilliant.
no, but it was truly that way. And for people like Robin Voss to go, oh my, I can't believe he did something like that. I mean, it's just, again, that's why it's important to know what has happened in the past, because everything that happens seems to have, I think, something to do with either a personal slight or a professional slight.
Yeah.
But it's not just basically on its own. This is a 25-30 year process where the line item veto has been such a major portion of the Wisconsin budget process each and every 2 years.
This is not entirely related to the subject of line item vetoes, but I just do want to remind folks that it was the Republican Party of Wisconsin that tried to gut the open records law a number of years ago in the middle of the night on a Friday of a 4th of July weekend until they got caught. Just throwing it out there. That kind of sticks with me a little bit. And the fact that no one had to admit they authored that bill, which is wrong.
Right. I mean, again, there's so much that goes on where it just feels like, the little things that you can do to make the whole process work smoother. And when you pull stunts like that, when you see, pulling the education funding at 3 a.m, I mean, it's just, let's be adults about this. And so often it doesn't feel like we're being adults about it. We're just trying to slide something in, under the door, like trying to drop in that term paper under the professor's door and not have them see it. It's just do it the right way. And then, you talk about the battle of ideas. If we could just battle the ideas, the whole system would work so much smoother. And that's, I think, one of the problems that we have right now is it's all about the 24/7 news cycle, having a 15-minute segment to get your base, up in arms about something. It's making for just basic governing so much more difficult.
Absolutely. We're talking to Chad Holmes of the Chad Holmes Show up on WXCO, 8 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. He is our guest for our crossover Civic Media Fridays. And we are moving on to what, Chad, was the worst story of the week?
Oh, man. I'm still I'm so baffled. And again, it's going to be the budget. The idea that the governor was not able to do anything, the idea that in this time of massive surpluses that the UW system would be cut. I'm somebody who graduated from a UW system school. I would not be here today if not for my college experience. And I just think, when I think of what Representative Voss has been talking about with this, it's basically sounds like he wants everybody to be just a cog in the economic machine. While higher education is so much more than that. It's about experiencing new things. It's about expanding your mind. It's about, finding out things that you may never have thought about doing. It's about learning from people that you may have never have thought about talking to. It's so much more. And when it gets down to this pettiness, I just think of what I would have been missing if I would not have had the opportunity to be in theater. I never thought I would do that. When I was in school, I was able to do that.
You can be in our play, Chad. We're going to be in a play. You want to be in our
I would love to do. I tell you, I tell people all the time. I said, because I love what I do with this. I don't think I'd be involved in this, or at least at the level to keep a job for any length of time, unless I'd had that experience. And I never expected it when I went to school. I started here in Wausau at the center, and then went on to Eau Claire. And it's like, and then you learn from different people, and it just feels like right now, Robin Voss says, well, everything the university should do should be based on whether or not that it helps the economy. No, higher education is so much more than that, because life is so much more than that. And that really bothers me, that people should be able to find out things that they just love to do, and just to have a better base of knowledge to make us better citizens, to be able to make better decisions when it comes to deciding, who to vote for or what policies that we want to support or anything like that.
Well, and I think that's the thing, understanding what's going to end up happening now, because I feel like Jay Rothman has been, there's two sides of how he's come across, like I would say in his first year, really, has it been in 1 year, 2 years since he took over as for the UW system? And like on the one hand, I applaud his defense of the DEI programs, which is exactly what they're trying to go after with these budget cuts, they being Voss and the Republicans, and arguing why it's important. It's important for the school. It's important for the students. But at the same time, as our friend Todd Alba has talked about many times, of the kind of secrecy around closing the Richland Center Platteville campus, and also the, what's the word that I'm trying to think of the word, but basically Jay Rothman also saying like there could be future closures of other smaller campuses if we don't get this funding. And so like understanding the ramifications of not only not getting in any kind of increase for the UW system, but actually getting less, and what campuses that's going to affect downstream. Because I think, Madison, let's call a spade, is like the crown jewel. And so there's other campuses that are going to get affected and even close before Madison gets a huge ding, I think.
Well, you're exactly right. I think it's a pretty clear pathway, and you talk about Richland Center, and then you talk about the other two-year schools, the two-year centers. We have one here in Wausau. Now it's called UW Stevens Point at Wausau. Those of us who went to it when it was called the University of Wisconsin Marathon County are still annoyed by that, because for me, it was very important. I wasn't ready to go to a four-year school when that happened. It was so great to be able to stay here in town, stay at home, save some money. And I thought the staff and everything that we were able to do was right up to the level. And it afforded opportunities within the college, and it was a springboard to go then to Eau Claire and then get off and live my life. But I think that anybody that has a two-year center should be very worried, because I've listened to Todd as well. It's a situation like that where Todd, I think, has been really on top of it. And, I think all these two-year centers have to be keeping a very close eye on what's going on within the system.
Absolutely. All right. Then our final question. What was the weirdest story you saw this week, Chad?
It actually was this morning. I came in and I was just going through some different stories, thinking of finding out what's going on in terms of what to talk about. And on our WausauDailyHerald.com site, there's a story about Representative Mike Gallagher talking about the Barbie movie.
I saw that.
The idea that the Barbie movie is being caught the attention of the man that is chairman of this subcommittee concerning China. And again, it's a perfect 15-minute segment for Fox News or Newsmax or One America News as well. This felt like this guy is talking about a child's map, seeing some dots on it and making it into some sort of neo-political statement. I just found that to be odd.
Well, it's funny because it's actually a bigger. I was looking into this because Vietnam has banned the whole movie.
I did see that as well. Yeah.
And so it is there. I don't know the extent of what it's basically. Those dots on the map are something that's been repudiated in court, but it's like China's signal that they owned that part of the South China Sea, and that's not actually the case. And so the fact that it's also just a weird thing that the Barbie movie would put it in there in general, but then also to see Mike Gallagher, like that's what he's making comments on, is also very weird. Like the whole thing is very weird. So good choice in that story.
Hey, it's nice to know the Republicans are focused on kitchen table issues.
And that's what I was going to say as well, because there is actually, and I think you hit it right, Kristen, in terms there is an issue. And we've seen it with the NBA. The NBA has issues with China as well, and with Hollywood.
Appeasing them.
There is an issue here, but the way Gallagher goes about it, instead of talking to this Warner Brothers studio, who's the studio behind the Barbie movie, again, it's all about not being serious about it. Are you looking for something to rattle the cage, or are you looking to actually solve a problem? Because there are issues involved here.
You mean when he went on the Pat McAfee show wearing a John Cena shirt? That wasn't a serious thing?
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. But when we come back, Chad, are you nervous? You nervous for this quiz? I think it's going to be easier than you think it is.
I am gripping. I was like on the airplane when we had some turbulence. I'm gripping right now the sides of my chair.
All right, we'll be back with this week's headline quiz when we return with Chad Holmes, Jane McNair. I'm Kristen Bry. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
And the only thing missing is you. Wausau, Wisconsin is a faraway place just above the tension line. They've got concerts on the square in the Wisconsin Valley.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Hi, I'm Mandy Roberts, financial advisor with Thrivent. I'm here to help you assess your finances and find solutions to meet your needs. Let's ensure you have a strategy for success. To get started, call 715-470-1303. That's 715-470-1303.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Fear you may be missing out? We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. Enjoy listening live or catch up by finding the podcast at civicmedia.us or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. A blend of clouds and sun this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 78. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Chance for scattered rain showers. Lows dip down to about 59. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Chance for scattered showers. High temperatures reach up to 77. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently,
I make my living off the evening news. Just give me something I can use. People love it when you lose. Feel of dirty laundry. Well, I could have been an actor, but I wound up here.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and we are joined by Chad Holmes of the Chad Holmes Show on Bulls Falls Radio, WXCO, from 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right before we come on. And this is the time of the week that we do a little bit of a headline quiz where our guest goes against Jane. And we have 6 questions that are multiple choice, and then 1 question at the end. And whoever answers first gets the point.
I got my
Chad,
buzzer.
you are. Yes, you got your buzzer. Chad, since you are the guest, you get to choose if you get to go first or second.
Let's go first.
You're
Let's
gonna
set the
really
tone.
You're gonna really like that you chose to go first because we actually already talked about the first question. So, number 1, which country banned Barbie for showing a map of a disputed territory? Is it A, Pakistan, B, China, C, Egypt, D, Vietnam?
D, Vietnam.
There we
ding,
go.
Ding, well
ding,
done.
Ding, ding, All right. So, Chad has 1. Keep score up at the top. All right, Jane. Which airline is giving some customers 30,000 frequent flyer miles to make up for significant travel disruptions? Is it A, American, B, United, C, Spirit, D, Southwest?
I will go with United.
Ding, ding, ding. That is also correct.
Although I would have thought all of them would do that, but
yeah. Do you? Did you really think all of them would do that? All right, Chad, what did Subway, the sandwich shop, add this week to 20,000 restaurants? A, a new scent. B, reformulated tuna filling. C, freshly sliced deli meats. D, a salad menu.
This is a guess, but I know that in the recent past there was talk about the tuna. So I'm going to say B, the tuna filling.
Can I steal?
We've never done stealing
never done a
before.
steal? Okay.
I think for now we have to say no stealing.
Okay.
It is in fact sliced deli
Oh.
meats.
And they're putting in like these really fancy slicers.
Yeah, I saw that too. And so it's supposed to be like, it's funny because as soon as I saw this story, all I could think of was the Last Week Tonight episode when John Oliver goes hard on Subway and like how like corrupt and weird that whole franchise is. And I was like, oh, that seems like a nice thing for these people that otherwise get screwed over all the time, it sounds like. All right, so back to Jane. Which state senator put out a press release this week in response to Governor Evers' tax cut veto, saying, with his quote, with his veto message today, Governor Evers said, F the taxpayers. They don't know a GD thing about spending their own money. Was it Senator LaTanya Johnson, Senator Van Wangard, Senator Chris Kapanga, Senator Dewey Strobel, my buddy?
I will go with Van.
It was Van. And it's shocking because for the amount of stories that were written and hubbub that was made on Twitter when Senator Johnson cursed on the floor.
A whole different thing, right?
I saw very, like a lot less hubbub about, and it was in response, like he was playing, and he did bleep it out. He didn't actually put the asterisks in it, but
ooh,
you know, can't get too spicy. All right, back to Chad. Governor Evers used 51 line item vetoes before signing the budget, including one that affects how much money Visit Milwaukee will get for the RNC. The Republican budget gave them $10 million. What are they getting now? $1,000? $10,000? $100,000? $1 million.
$1 million.
Ding,
And
ding,
if they want the other $9 million, I'm sure the Eline family would be able to cover the costs. So good for the government.
I feel like they'll probably, and this is, I am friends with Visit Milwaukee. I like Visit Milwaukee. This is not a ding against them. It's just, as we go back to just, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry pettiness of all of this.
Yes.
This is that, oh, you changed it from 10 million to 1 million. Okay. Got it. All right. Back to Jane. Joey, how many hot dogs and buns did Joey Chestnut eat to win the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest? Was it A, 62, B, 69, C, 81, or D, 109?
I think it's 62.
It was.
All
Indeed,
right.
It was 62. All right. So what is it? Do you have 3? Is it 3-2 right now?
I believe so.
Boy,
All right.
she's tough. She is tough.
She's tough. She's,
if I got 2 of the 3,
force
I
her to read a lot of news, Chad.
All
right.
She beats me, Chad.
Which annual festival began this week, Chad? San Diego Comic-Con. How are we ending with you? We started with you.
I thought
I don't know. We screwed it up. We got to go. This is how serious this quiz should be taken.
Yes.
Which annual festival began this week? San Diego Comic-Con, Running of the Bulls, Bonnaroo, or Firefest?
Running of the Bulls.
Ding, ding, ding. I know. I didn't really hear much about it either. I feel like it's a big thing to have such little fanfare. All right. You both should get this. It's now just a matter of who can get it first.
Okay.
All right.
So whoever answers first gets the point. What year did Evers extend the public school funding increases until?
2045.
24-25.
Ding, got it. It's a tie.
Rats.
It's a tie. All right.
Well done,
Well
Chad.
done, Chad.
I gotta say, you got in there so fast. I was about to talk. I was like, "Holy cow, she was so fast!" But you get those numbers; they all come together.
Whatever. All right, Chad. People can find you 8 to 10 a.m. on. If they're not in the range of WXCO, they can always listen to you on the app, Civic Media app. But what's just give us a quick minute rundown of your show.
Anything and everything for Central Wisconsin. Love to. We talked to political figures. Got the mayor. Got others who are involved in city government. We talk about events. Recently had. We have every other week our executive director of the Grand Theater talking about, which is I think one of the great wonderful venues in Wisconsin, right here in Wausau with the Grand, and we talk about sports. I'd like to keep it. You don't know what you're going to hear. I don't want to be boring, so it's like if I talk about Ron Johnson too much, I think people get bored.
Fair. You gotta mix it up a little bit. So, all right. Well, you can catch him 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday on Bull Falls Radio, WXCO 98.9 FM, 12:30 a.m. or on the Civic Media app.
Get the app.
Get the app, Chad.
Get the app.
So much fun talking to you. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, we're going to take a break for the top of the hour news, but when we come back, we're going to be talking to Jim Malewitz from Wisconsin Watch about the very limited options for students in Wisconsin who have disabilities. It is not a light story, but an important one. So stay tuned. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Summer 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Missed your favorite show live on air? It's easy to find what you enjoy wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And we're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. We got a new read on the jobs market today. U.S. employers added 209,000 positions in June, despite stubborn inflation. Still, points out Bob Dahl, Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global.
First, less than expected number in 15 months. The economy, now labor included, is showing some signs of weakening.
Healthcare services and construction led the gains. Unemployment fell from 3.7 to 3.6 as the Fed considers raising interest rates again. CBS's Sarah Ewald-Weiss.
There are expectations we'll see 2 more rate hikes this year by the Fed. It's not clear whether they will do those consecutively, one later this month and then another at the next meeting, or if they'll take an every other approach.
A lot of U.S. is baking in extreme heat again today. It's expected to climb above 90 degrees in 31 states. That's especially tough if you work outdoors. Peter Mitchell owns a paving company in Pennsylvania.
It's pretty tough because being at the asphalt's over 300 degrees, and then you work in battle in the heat that's, typically over a 90-degree day like this. It becomes a challenge throughout the day.
A trans woman and an educator who teaches in costume among a group going to court over Montana's first-in-the-nation law banning people dressed in drag from reading to children in public schools or libraries. Loyola Law's Lori Levinson.
Montana is a very conservative state, so I'm sure that this will be battled in their court. But overall, one can expect a strong First Amendment claim against these laws, as well as an equal protection claim.
The Biden administration may be bypassing a U.S. law to send shipments of controversial weapons to Ukraine. Correspondent Holly Williams is at the foreign desk.
The U.S. will supply Ukraine with cluster munitions, reportedly thousands of them. It comes as Ukraine tries to break through Russian lines in its counteroffensive. Many of America's allies have banned cluster munitions, but the U.S. has not. There's evidence that both Ukraine and Russia have used them them in the ongoing conflict.
A father of 4 from Afghanistan who served as an interpreter to U.S. troops, then escaped the Taliban to move to the States to protect his family, has been killed in an act of random violence. His friend says Ahmad Yar was shot at the end of a late-night shift driving for Lyft near Washington, D.C.
His wife asked him, like, please, it's late, stay home. And he said, I have to pay the rent. I don't have that much money. I have to work.
Surveillance video shows he may have been shot by a group of boys. This is CBS News.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed, the end-to-end hiring solution. Attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. Here's what you need to know in Southeast Wisconsin. School leaders in Mugwanago plan to appeal a federal judge's ruling that invalidated the school district's bathroom policy, which required students to use facilities based on their biological sex. The judge issued a temporary restraining order stating that the policy discriminates against a transgendered student and punishes students for gender nonconformity. The school district's superintendent intends to appeal the decision and maintain their existing bathroom policy. The feds have indicted 5 Milwaukee men in connection to postal worker attacks. Jimmy Casca has more.
The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Wisconsin says the suspects have been indicted for their participation in a series of armed robberies targeting mail carriers. If convicted, each person could be locked up for over 30 years.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
If you're searching for top-notch electrical service for your commercial or industrial property, connect with Current Electric in Wauwatosa. Current Electric offers a wide array of electrical services to clients in Milwaukee and the surrounding areas, celebrating 40 years of energizing and illuminating lives in southeastern Wisconsin. Their dedicated team of superheroes can help with everything from parking lot lighting upgrades to office and business LED conversions, EV chargers to service upgrades. Call 262-295-2815 or log on to callcurrent.com.
Does your financial strategy include your hopes and dreams? What matters most to you? For over 100 years, Thriveman has helped clients like you find financial solutions for life's important goals. Explore a full range of options, from financial advice and investments to insurance, banking, and generosity programs. To have a heart-to-heart about your finances, contact Mandy Roberts, who you may recognize as Mandy Wright. Call her at 715-470-1303. 715-470-1303. Mandy Roberts proudly serves the central Wisconsin area. For more details, visit thriveman.com/disclosure.
This summer, 540 AM WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 540 AM WAUK.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are...
I don't think I've had any terrible jobs. What about you? What?
I was a thistle picker on the pea line at a local cannery.
A thistle, say that 5 times fast. A thistle picker on the pea line. So let's just start there.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin, and happy Friday. Welcome to the 11 o'clock hour of As Goes Wisconsin. I am your host, Kristen Bry. Jane Nutnair is on the board, and we have 1 hour until freedom and the weekend. I mean, that we should be complaining because it was a pretty short week for us. 3-day week. It was really went by quickly. But very excited for both of our guests this hour. And our first topic to kick off this hour is maybe something you didn't realize, unless, of course, you are a parent or a family member of a student who has a disability. because in Wisconsin, we talk about school choice a lot. There are lots of choices. There are voucher schools, there is charter schools, there is your public school, there is open enrollment. But when it comes to having a disabled child, apparently, those choices get really limited really quickly based on the discretion of schools. And so back in May, at end of May, Mario Caran, who is not with us today. He's been on before, but he wrote this story. But instead, we have Jim Malewitz, who is the deputy manager of managing editor of Wisconsin Watch, to join us to talk about the article, because Mario got a new job, which we're so excited for him. He's
well
working at the New York
done.
Times.
Wow.
But about this story, because as someone who has family members who have disabilities, this was pretty shocking to me. So welcome to the show, Jim. Oh. We cannot
hear you.
All right, Jim, if you could call 844-967-2789, we will try a different way.
We'll get you on that way.
Versus the StreamYard, which seems to not be working. But I'll take this time as we are waiting for Jim to call to remind you that you can watch us on the StreamYard. You can watch Jane, you can watch me, and you can find that on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And just follow us there, As Goes Wisconsin. And I think we are ready to talk to Jim. Maybe? All right, I'm going to keep killing time. And so I'll start giving you a little bit more context for the story, because, a couple weeks ago, we had Phoebe Petrovic, sorry, I always get those two screwed up, on the show, and we talked about the ability for private voucher schools to discriminate when they are choosing between LGBTQ students and their guidelines and student handbooks, but then also whether or not they have the ability to accommodate disabled students. And this is for private schools. But what this story actually talks about more is how this is also happening at public schools. Do we got Jim?
We have Jim is on the line. Hi, Jim.
Hey there. Sorry about that snafu.
No problem. This is, live radio, baby. Sometimes we have technical issues and we just keep rolling. But welcome to the show, Jim.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I guess in a broad stroke, what is the reality for families in Wisconsin who have kids with disabilities when it comes to finding a school?
So it's not great. And kids have a lot fewer options than kids who don't have disabilities. And you've talked to Mario in the past, and also our reporter, Phoebe Petrovic, about kind of what's going on in voucher schools, the private schools that where there are opportunities to, accept kids on taxpayer subsidized scholarships. Those schools are allowed to, they have to accept kids that they admit, even if they have disabilities, but they're allowed to potentially expel them if they find that they can't meet their needs once they're enrolled. Also, charter schools, it's somewhat hit and miss. There are some charter schools that are accommodating for kids with disabilities, but there's also been accusations that certain charter schools have also sort of cherry-picked their those who enroll there and are trying to reject kids with disabilities, potentially to save money or potentially to maintain higher test scores. And then in public schools, which is what Mario took a look at as part of a series that we were doing, looking at limited choice options for certain students. In public schools, we all know that public schools must serve all kids who enroll within their boundaries, and that includes kids with disabilities. But we also know that Wisconsin is among the lowest states to actually fund special education in the U.S. There's only about a third of the cost of educating a kid with disabilities is reimbursed from the state in Wisconsin. And so, kids are often parents of kids are often looking for opportunities to send them maybe through the state's open enrollment system to maybe a better resource school, because special education funding really depends on where you live, what's the tax base there. But what we were reporting on recently is that public schools also are allowed to discriminate in a way when it comes to who they accept with open enrollment. Yes, they have to accept any kid within their boundaries, no matter what the cost is to educate them. But when it comes to open enrollment options, they're rejecting kids with disabilities at a much higher rate than they're rejecting, anyone who enrolls in a public school.
So, for example, it's basically like, since we're in Southeast Wisconsin, if it was a family who was in MPS, in the boundaries of MPS and their school district, they had a child with a disability that they felt like their MPS school wasn't addressing well. Technically, they could try to do open enrollment into a different school without that, but because they switch districts and try to go to like a TOSA school, but basically as soon as they try to do that, they can just be told no.
Yeah, so they can definitely apply to go to Wauwatosa or say Whitefish Bay or somewhere like that, and then but what the in examining and trying to figure out how many kids are going to be admitted through open enrollment, each school is allowed to set caps, which makes sense. You're setting caps on, like, here's how many kids we're able to take this year in general. So that there's a cap of the general amount of kids you're going to admit. And there's also a special cap for kids who have an IEP, have a disability and need specialized education. And so, that school is allowed to even say, we're not going to take any kids who have an IEP, no matter what that IEP requires, how many resources. We had a school outside of Madison, a school district in Verona, who one year took 0 kids with disabilities through open enrollment. So they're able to, they're able to set specialized caps for kids with disabilities and reject them. And then we know statewide, kids with disabilities are rejected from open enrollment at about a 40% rate versus the general population, which is about 14% when they're trying to enroll in a new school district.
So just to repeat that, so you said children with disabilities get rejected from open enrollment at a 40% rate compared to the rest of the students that is a 14.
Correct. And, advocates for kids with disabilities kind of call this discrimination with a lowercase d, because this is completely legal within the state's setup for open enrollment. This has been challenged in court. Actually, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, who is a conservative think tank that's involved in a lot of things, including culture war things, but also is a big advocate for school choice. 2 years ago, it sued on behalf of some families of kids with disabilities who said that they were repeatedly rejected through open enrollment, and they were alleging that this was sort of a discriminatory practice. But the judge in that case said, no, this is completely legal. The schools do have to, kind of mind their resources, and that they're able to say, no, we're not going to, take this kid with disabilities, or maybe we're not going to take any kids, or we're going to limit that number compared to, the rest of the population that will accept through the open enrollment system.
We're talking to Jim Malewitz, who is the deputy managing editor at Wisconsin Watch, about an article that was first published at the end of May called "Wisconsin Students with Disabilities Often Denied Public School Choices." And so this is legal. And then so until basically our legislature tries to actually amend this in some way, this is just kind of how the cookie crumbles for families with children with disabilities at this point.
Yeah, that's it. It's been challenged in court, but yeah, you're right. The legislature could totally change this, and it could be a big or a small change. I mean, I know that there's folks are generally debating the merits of school choice and the merits of sending taxpayer dollars to, say, to subsidize school choice in the private school system, or whether kids should be able to transfer between boundaries, or whether we should just better, fund the public schools where they live. So that's a broader debate. But, in other states that do have school choice, such as Minnesota, just across the border, they ban public schools from, specifically setting specific limits on kids with disabilities. And you can't be denied just because you have a disability when you're applying for open enrollment. Schools there aren't accepting everybody, but they have to kind of weigh the application of a kid with a disability alongside someone in the general population. And so they're trying to address that discrimination. And it's just a small kind of legislative change there that they're able to pursue. A lot of advocates for public schools will say this might not be as much of a problem if you actually fund special education properly, just sort of at a statewide level, that, number one, parents of kids with disabilities wouldn't feel the need to transfer to another school if their special education was funded properly in their home district, or other schools might be incentivized to take more students if the reimbursement rate from the state was higher than a third of the cost to educate a kid with a disability.
Because even in this most recent budget, it went, if I'm correct with my numbers, it went from 30% to only to 33% as far as what the special education reimbursement rates are.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's a small change, and I think
Small change.
It's positive to increase it, but it's still kind of in the lower rankings among states.
And what's a bummer about this story is I don't feel like there's anything to, like, besides pressuring your lawmakers and having empathy for your friends and family members who have children who are facing this. Like, there's nothing really else to do. And so, but it's so important to talk about. So Jim Malewitz, thank you so much for spending time with us and breaking down the story with us.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
All right. Well, have a great weekend. And we're going to take a quick break and be back in just a moment. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Mandy Roberts, financial advisor with Thrivent. I'm here to help you assess your finances and find solutions to meet your needs. Let's ensure you have a strategy for success. To get started, call 715-470-1303. That's 715-470-1303.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show. On 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Protect your legacy. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Pursuing the truth wherever it may lead. The Todd Alba Show, weekday afternoons from 1 till 3. Join the conversation. Get involved. The Todd Alba Show on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. A blend of clouds and sun this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 78. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected tonight. Chance for scattered rain showers. Lows dip down to about 59. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Chance for scattered showers. High temperatures reach up to 77. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 72 degrees.
I'm broke, but I'm happy. I'm poor, but I'm kind. I'm short, but I'm healthy. Yeah.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bride. She is Jane Matnair. And that is frustrating.
Yes. I can't even imagine all of the challenges for parents and the lack of resources and the lack of options. It's just mind-blowing.
And basically what just happens is you're stuck. Like, I have a family member whose young child has autism. And I think the last time we checked in, they're making the decision to leave Milwaukee and go to Pewaukee because that's where their parents live and they have the ability to make that move.
System.
They have a support system. And in Pewaukee, as you can imagine, because it's a wealthier school district, there are more resources. right? There's just more resources, and so it's going to be better. But like, not everyone has that option.
Most people don't have that
And that's
option.
what it's like. Just unless you can move into a wealthier school district where they can't deny you, you are at the mercy of being accepted by a voucher private school, a charter school, an open enrollment, or just hoping that your public school that you live within the boundary of can have the adequate accommodations for your kid. And like, that's it. That's the best we can do.
Good luck.
Is just, as I said, like, I have multiple family members who have different challenges, and like, it's unreal. This is just the options that we give them on top of everything else that they face.
And especially in this day and age, I thought we were getting better about taking care of each other. That doesn't seem to be the case.
And I get that schools are strapped. And so being able to just have the open enrollment side of things, of just being like, to take in a bunch of like kids that like we're like already just trying to take care of the kids that we have to take in our school system, in our boundaries. I know that it's complicated, but it just feels like, it goes back to maybe if we just refunded or reimbursed special education at a higher rate, this wouldn't be as much of a problem.
That's a thought. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of different problems at schools, this has kind of been dormant for a little while, but remember the name Melissa Temple?
I remember that name very well.
If you don't remember the name Melissa Temple, do you remember the Rainbow Land situation in Waukesha Elementary School? So that is starting to, I don't know if it's going to be conclusion, but the next chapter is coming next week. So a group of parents has organized a silent rally. I don't know what a silent rally is, but maybe this Milwaukee Journal Sentinel article will tell me. And is encouraging attendance at next week's Waukesha School Board hearing, where Melissa Temple, who is the teacher who criticized the school's decision to ban the song Rainbow Land from a spring concert, is going to learn her fate. So Jim Siebert, who is the Waukesha School superintendent, has recommended that Temple be fired. And this is now going in front of the board. He said that she violated district policies when she took to Twitter in March to share the district's decision to pull the Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton song. That tweet then went viral. We talked about it on this show.
Talked to some Waukesha
parents. The story itself made it into LA Times, TMZ, Entertainment Weekly, People Magazine. Like, it was, it was attached to Miley and Dolly, right? And so it was got a lot of attention. And so next week, the Waukesha School Board is scheduled to hear from Temple and district officials at a hearing at noon on July 12th, which may not be the most convenient time for supporters to go, for anyone to go, really. Yeah. Noon in the middle of the summer on a
work day.
So there is, for information on the rally, this is the same group that we've talked to, Dave Jurgenberg.
Dave from the Shaw,
our friend from the Shaw, Sarah Harrison, and their friends and their group of 125 parents known as the Alliance for Education in Waukesha. And so they believe that her First Amendment rights are being violated by the district. And they've organized a silent rally before Wednesday's hearing. So it's scheduled at 11 a.m. on Wednesday outside the district's administrative office, which is at 301 East Hyde Park Drive, Waukesha. And attendees are encouraged to wear black armbands and black face masks.
Wow.
I don't know why, but
interesting.
There you go. So we'll share that information as well. You can also always get more information from that group at Alliance for Education Waukesha at gmail.com. So we'll see what happens as far as her potential. Oh, actually, I think Dave is maybe calling right now. And so he's probably has more information. Our friend Dave, who is a part of that organization, the Alliance for Education. Is that Dave?
It is our friend Dave from the Shaw. Hey, Dave, what are you thinking? What's going on?
Are you calling to correct me?
Oh,
did I get something wrong?
No, I was calling to tell you that the silent rally is, I'm part of this group that's organizing the rally, and it's going to be like no one's going to speak, no one's going to chant, and it's being mindful of the fact that we feel like teachers in Waukesha are being silenced.
Oh.
So we won't say anything. We may speak to the media, but the goal is to emphasize the fact that this is one of multiple ways that we feel like the district is attempting to silence teachers here in Waukesha.
That is a good clarification, because I did not know what a silent rally was, and so now we know that exactly what the meaning behind it is. But I'll definitely share that, because, like you said, it's not the most convenient time, but for anyone who can show up and show support, we would love to see you there.
Yeah, we would love to see you there. We're planning on wearing black or black armbands, just to show solidarity with Melissa Temple and the rest of the teachers in Waukesha.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for calling, Dave, and giving us that more information, and for always listening and being our buddy. And so we're going to take another break, but when we come back, Dr. Michael Tiller will be here, who is the assistant professor in forest ecology at the College of Natural Resources at UW Stevens Point, and we're going to talk about forest fires and what you can do to prevent them. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup at 12:15. Wisconsin Roundtable, 1 to 3, the Todd Alba Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
CBS News Brief. Hiring eased in June. The Labor Department says employers added 209,000 jobs, the smallest pickup since 2020. But analysts say that's still solid. CBS's Sarah Ewell-Weiss.
We're seeing the jobs market cooling some, but we're not seeing big spikes in unemployment. We're not seeing major drops in jobs being added.
Unemployment fell from 3.7 to 3.6%. The work week closes out with another scorcher. Forecast calls for temperatures above 90 in 31 states. Richard Gresh owns a roofing company in Pennsylvania.
85, 90 degrees down here on the ground. Up there, you could be upwards of probably 110, 115 degrees for sure.
The Biden administration's expected to approve shipment of controversial cluster munitions to Ukraine. Cammie McCormick.
They're banned in many countries. They'll be drawn down from existing stocks.
CBS News Brief. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected on the Civic Media Network, civicmedia.us.
For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles. Here's what you need to know in Southeast Wisconsin. Aldermen in Milwaukee recently faced public opposition to the proposed new sales tax during a public meeting, with many attendees expressing dissatisfaction. During a public listening session, many were angered by the associated spending limits. Milwaukee is expediting the approval of the sales tax to prevent significant budget cuts or bankruptcy. Some aldermen are discussing the possibility of legal action to challenge the spending restrictions imposed by lawmakers alongside the new tax. Students at Waukesha North and South will be working together next year. The Waukesha School Board says the girls' basketball teams from North and South will combine for a co-op team. A number of other sports have had to combine due to falling enrollment and interest. For Civic Media News, I'm Stuart J. Waddles.
Living happily ever after isn't always a reality. If you're over 50 and are considering divorce, attorney Andrea Gage with the Everson Law Firm can provide the guidance you need. Andrea focuses on silver divorces, the kind that get more complicated over time and present unique challenges. A family, multiple properties, significant assets. Andrea and the team at Everson Law have the experience to protect your interests. Call Everson Law to set up an appointment with Andrea today. It's never too late to be happy. Everson Law, 920-435-3734.
It's go time at Chula Vista. Time for you to discover Wisconsin's most complete resort experience. 200,000 square feet of water park fun. New thrills like zipline racing, 18 holes of classic golf, Wisconsin's #1 steakhouse, hundreds of newly renovated rooms. Check it out at chulavistaresort.com.
Chula Vista Resort is one of the nation's top 10 indoor water parks per USA Today's 2023 Reader's Choice Awards. Find out why at chulavistaresort.com. This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flint Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Cruz. At 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show. On 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Thank you for listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Now join us anytime by finding and following our Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram pages. You'll also find...
I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. A tree whose...
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. And a couple weeks ago, a month or so ago,
I think about a month ago,
we had a listener call in and tell us how much they were interested in us having a conversation around how dry everything is and what's happening with forest fires and what you can do, like Smokey the Bear, which you can do to prevent forest fires. And we're like, we will find someone to talk to about that, because certainly you and I are not going to be the experts.
How I wish I were.
And lo and behold, we did find an expert. Dr. Michael Tiller is an assistant professor in forest ecology in the College of Natural Resources at UW-Stevens Point. And so we're so excited to ask you, because is it as dry up in Stevens Point as it is down here?
Absolutely, Kristen. It's very dry down here, and we were hoping to get some moisture the other day, but we didn't quite get the rain we were looking for. So yeah, it's been pretty dry.
Pretty dry. I said when I was in Madison for 4th of July, how brown everything looks. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I guess kind of what is the state of Wisconsin's forests this summer?
Yeah, so we've seen some pretty good drying trend lately, and overall our forest, it's been pretty dry, but fortunately we have resilient forests because we have such a good forest management program and a robust forest industry. So we keep a lot of our forests in healthy condition, and we do that by going in and doing our routine thinnings on a lot of our forests that are being managed for timber and also for wildlife use as well.
And so, and that is that something that's totally separate from, the city coming down and making sure that the trees that are getting in the way of electrical lines and stuff like that, is that also considered forest management, or is that just city management for like public works and stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of our state forestry agencies, in this case, the Wisconsin DNR, they're responsible for a lot of our fire prevention programs, mitigation, and also our fire suppression programs. And that usually comes under our state forestry departments. So yes, in a lot of ways, they'll be responsible for assisting communities with fuels reduction projects called community wildfire protection plans, and then also supporting fire-wise communities that help people perform basically fuels treatments in hazardous fuels that are adjacent to their homes and their communities. So they're very active in that. And yes, along a lot of our power line right-of-ways, we also have laws where you have certain distances you have to keep the trees pruned to keep them from getting into the power lines and creating arcs, not only for disruption of power, but also that can cause fires as well as those limbs arc in those power lines.
Mike, it seems like forest management is a pretty big umbrella. And I know you mentioned, doing some thinning of trees and things like that. Mm-hmm. I also envision people going to the forest and saying, I want you to grow in a straight line. Mm-hmm. Tall.
Absolutely.
I mean, what else is involved in the management of forest?
So when we're looking at forest management, there's a lot of what we're managing for. There's a lot of different stakeholder interests. And first of all, the one we just talked about is growing timber for production. So that right there, when we're talking about thinning forests and keeping them in a healthy state, just through forest products industry, we're also maintaining it for wildlife reasons, for wildlife habitat management. So oftentimes we'll thin some of these stands, and you'll get more light to the ground. And what happens with that is you'll start to get more of those surface fields, or what we call understory fields, to flourish a little bit more, and that creates good wildlife habitat and forage value for some of our deer species, bird species. So we can manage our forests in different age cohorts as well, different age groups that actually have different wildlife structure and value to that as well. And then, of course, aesthetics are also important. And then watershed functions, another important one. By keeping our forests kind of thin in some regards, we reduce transpiration of trees when we thin those out, and it actually improves soil moisture. And with that, it improves forest health, and also can improve watershed function as well.
So I feel like in the last week, how bad was the smoke up near you last week, and like the air quality?
Oh, it was horrible.
It was horrible, right?
Yeah,
so obviously that was Canadian fires. And those were, if I'm correct, those were wildfires. Those were not controlled burns, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So I guess when we talk about fires that forest fires that are good, so like controlled burns, natural wildfires that can be contained but are part of kind of like the natural cycle, versus things that are bad and get out of control. Like, can you kind of like dispel each of those for us?
Yeah. So let's begin with what we call good fire, right? And what we use is the tool we use is prescribed burning, where we go in and we're trying to manage our forest understories in a lot of ways, by actually promoting fire and then reducing the hazardous fields and actually returning a natural disturbance in these forests in which they thrive on. And here in Wisconsin, we have a number of fire adapted communities. One of the prominent ones where we have a lot of problems with our wildfires are in some of the jack pine barrens. And so oftentimes we'll try to do fuels treatments in those to reduce fire intensity in there. And when we're talking about fuels treatments, we're talking about changing the horizontal and vertical structure of the forest to reduce fire intensity. Basically, your horizontal structure, your continuity, if we can break up the forest and thin them, we can actually have those canopies, those tree canopies that are spread out more, and then you break up the continuity, what we call a canopy or a crown fire. So when we reduce those, it actually helps in that regard, and we put the natural fire cycle back in there. It keeps those fuels from accumulating and then reduces fire intensity. And unfortunately, what happened in a lot of the country, what we suffered from, is actually fire exclusion, where we remove fire from some of these ecosystems. And what happens in that regard is basically you lose that natural cycle of cleaning out those fuels, and you get a heavy fuel accumulation, you get dry conditions, and you get overstocked forests, which reduces your forest health, and that leads to greater fire intensity. And that's where you get a wildfire, when you get an ignition where it becomes hard to control. So that's kind of where you draw the line between prescribed fire and out of control, or what we call wildfires.
Got it. We're talking to Dr. Michael Tiller, who is an assistant professor in forest ecology at the College of Natural Resources at UW-Stevens Point. And so where are we right now as far as like the likelihood for danger of wildfires in Wisconsin right now? Because I feel like in a month or so ago, there was issues, like warnings issued as far as how dry everything is, and like where I'm going camping this weekend. So like things to know when you're out there as far as like, don't do fireworks, baby.
Right. Well, and what's important to note is really kind of knowing the fire danger rating. You go on the Wisconsin DNR website and you can see the actual fire danger ratings, and you can keep apprised of what your counties and what areas, what kind of fire danger you're under. And you can get a lot of that on the Wisconsin DNR website. But generally speaking, a lot of the forests in Wisconsin are going to give us problems. They're going to be more on our drier forest sites that have more of that coarse, sandy soil that when you get moisture, it infiltrates really fast. And generally, those sites will get drier. Again, your jack pine barrens. And then we have also northern dry forests that will have some red pine and white pine, basically aspen, and then some other species up there that are somewhat fire adapted too. And on some of those drier sites can be problematic. And then down here in southern Wisconsin, we can have some of our oak woodlands or some of our dry southern forests that can be problematic too. So those are kind of some of the areas that those drier forest types that we've seen reduce rainfall in those areas, and you're going to see heightened fire danger within those forest ecosystems.
So then how often is the bad fire human made by some kind of mistake of someone who was doing something they shouldn't have been doing versus kind of, as you were saying, because things aren't thinned out or some stuff that just like wasn't managed correctly versus some jack-a-mole doing something they shouldn't be doing?
Actually, here in this applies to a lot of states, and especially true in Wisconsin. Yes, you're exactly right, Kristen. The human caused ignitions are generally always going to be the greatest source of ignitions, and that's why we try to have such robust fire prevention programs, and that's what we've been really successful with that in Wisconsin with our prescribed burn programs. We'll put limits on outdoor burning for burn permits. Keeping your campfire, no campfire rules once it gets real bad. And there's other mechanisms out there that we can put into play that really help reduce a lot of fires. And public education and outreach is another big one for fire prevention.
Is Smokey the Bear still helping?
Oh yeah, Smokey's doing his job. Absolutely. The only thing I'd argue about Smokey is it was always the icon for fire suppression, but in terms of the years that we've been suppressing fire, it's kind of also like to look at putting good fire on the ground too. And that's what we're really trying to promote with a lot of our forest management in the country now, is trying to return prescribed fire to a lot of our fire adapted ecosystems.
Mike, I'm curious, when we were heading into the 4th of July weekend, speaking of fireworks, does it just make you cringe when things are dry? I'm more pro drone than firework. I think we should stop fireworks. I think they're really dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another, and a lot of times when we're looking at these fireworks displays, we've got a lot of, at least here at Stevens Point, the fire department had a presence. They were doing it out over the river. So if you do it in a real safe manner, oftentimes you can definitely have your fireworks and still curb any wildland fire starts. But yeah, for sure, just having the public, you can definitely have fireworks bans in areas where the public's just out doing it on their own and they may not make the best decision in the world. So yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of states that will put a lot of restrictions on fireworks, especially in times of heightened fire danger. So it does make me cringe a little bit, especially when the weather aligns. Oftentimes we have dry fuels, but when we have windy conditions or what we call red flag conditions, it becomes really particularly problematic, where you can have a potential for a large explosive fire growth in those conditions.
So then, Dr. Tiller, how did you get into this without people thinking that you're like a suppressed arsonist in some way? You're like, I love fire. Like, how did you got your PhD in it?
Right,
became a tree nerd.
Yeah, it's just so impressive to see the good results that you get from prescribed burns when you have fire and you're using it in a good manner. The ecosystem just responds so well, and it's got so many ecosystem services that it provides that are so important to a lot of these systems. Again, wildlife habitat management, watershed's going to be a big one you see out west, and of course, reducing fire intensity is probably one of the big ones, because oftentimes you hear carbon sequestration, how important our forests are. Well, we have to protect those forests from these catastrophic fires. So going in there and doing the appropriate thinning regimes, restoring fire in these fire adapted ecosystems is going to be a real critical component moving forward with a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why it's important. But I guess, what was it that drew you to it?
What drew me to it actually is again, it's such an interesting force. Once it's out of control, it's extremely dangerous. Yet it's got this high amplitude. And then yet we can still control it. So I like the art of it, if you will.
Okay.
Being able to play with or use fire on your terms is really a skill, and that's been fun. Really adapting to that over the years and getting to be a true professional practitioner when you're using fire. And once you learn those techniques, it makes you a master of putting fires out too, and suppressing fires as well. So just learning a lot about fire physics and all that is what really intrigued me.
There's a lot of power in that.
Absolutely.
That's very cool. Anything else that people should know going into the weekend or more camping? I guess we only have we're just past a holiday weekend, but as far as things people should know or do when it comes to preventing forest fires.
Yeah, well, just pay attention to the fire danger ratings, and if your county in which you're recreating in, pay attention to those, and whatever the recommendation is, by all means, heed those recommendations. But again, just using your common sense rules of making sure you got campfires in the designated campfire ring, and then just perhaps smoking and keeping that away from any flammable sources. And a big one is don't park in dry grass, because your catalytic converters get so hot on your exhaust systems they can start a fire right on the side of the road. So that's a good one where I've seen people get in trouble.
Don't park in dry gas. All right, Dr.
Yeah.
Michael Tillers, thank you so much for joining us. He's an assistant professor in forest ecology at UW-Stevens Point. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you for having me.
All right. We got one more segment. We're going to talk about the things happening in Waukesha this weekend with our buddy Johnny Watermolen. Stay tuned. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
I think that I shall never see.
Attention, Wisconsin veterans.
Hello, I'm Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin. If you are veterans struggling to pay for rent, utilities, or other life-sustaining services, I want you to know that the Veterans Rental Assistance Program is here to help. You have already made a most noble sacrifice. You shouldn't have to continue doing so. We are here to support you. The Veterans Rental Assistance Program was created by and for people living in Wisconsin, with benefit approvals being issued to veterans in just days, not months. It's never easy to ask for assistance, but rest assured, we're here to help. You've always been there for us. We want you to know that we're here for you. Call 833-WIS-VRAP. That's 833-947-8727, or visit vrapwi.com. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, thank you.
This summer, 5:40 a.m. WAUK has a new lineup.
Yes, that's awesome.
Starting at 6 a.m. Up North News, 8 to 10, The Earl Ingram Show. Mondays, 8 to 9, Under the Helmet with the Grave Digger, Gilbert Brown and Earl Ingram. 10 to 12, As Goes Wisconsin. At noon, Civic Media Network News. At 12:15, Town Call. 1 to 3, The Todd Alba Show. 3 to 4, Matt Flynn Direct. 4 to 6, The Devil's Advocates with Dom and Crute. And 6 to 7, The Maggie Dawn Show on 5:40 a.m. WAUK.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with highs around 78. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers tonight. Lows level off around 59. Cloudy skies expected. Chance for scattered rain showers again tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 77. Partly cloudy skies. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 70.
This wonderful morning, such a sky you never did see. Who would tie it up with the ribbon and put it in a box for me? There'll never be a day so sunny.
I got to be honest, Jane. I don't know what song that is.
You don't know this song?
I feel like a bad theater kid.
You are a bad
I don't
theater
know what
kid.
song this is.
That's Who Will Buy from Oliver.
Oh
boy.
It's a classic.
You know, I actually have never seen. I've seen Oliver, not the musical.
Oh, you got to see.
I've never seen. I sang. What was the Who's the female lead of that show?
The bartender.
Yeah.
And
she sings some ballad that I used to have to sing in voice class
about my man or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like the only song from Oliver I actually know.
It's new to me, ladies.
Yeah. Johnny Watermelon doesn't know any of this. How you doing, friend?
I'm doing great. How are you, ladies?
We're great. So, if you were new to our show, Johnny is our. Well, I don't even know how to describe. You do so much for our station.
I'm kind of I wear a lot of different hats around here, and I'm sort of gravitating into more of a supportive role in the production and the marketing side of things.
Yep.
So I have a lot to do with Friday Night Live and the farmers markets around here. So you see me in person down at those venues. So I kind of have claimed that territory a little bit. And
You're like our
it's
street
just,
team.
yeah, I'm kind of like the street crew guy. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Because you're a people person, so
I
you
like-
you
yeah.
like being out there with folks. And so, what
I
are
do.
all the different activities that your people can find you at
Well,
in and
I'm
around Waukesha?
so glad you asked. Okay, so let's go kind of through them in order of how they happen. Let's say
Of which
starting
ones you like
today.
the most?
Well, we could do that, but
No
we're going to
picking
go
favorites. No picking favorites.
chronologically here, time wise. So Friday Night Live is just such a great venue in downtown Waukesha. They close off all the streets and they just have a great supportive venue from all the business owners, and the police department and the fire department do a fabulous job keeping everybody safe. It's just so cool. They have all these different locations. There's 8 different live bands that come down and they're on the street and they basically perform from 6:30 to 9. So it's a great venue. I'm going to go outside the box here just a little bit on Friday Night Live and tell you that because I'm there on the street and I get to see this thing. Okay. The rule is you're not supposed to drink any alcohol while you're walking around. Okay. So they want the people
no
to
open
stay.
container.
Yeah, no open containers. But I'll tell you that and I'm not advocating this. I'm just telling you what I see from an observant standpoint. Okay. That if you're not drawing attention to yourself and you have your own little, let's say,
coffee mug?
Yeti or coffee mug there.
Thermos.
If you have your own coffee mug and you're not drawing attention to yourself, the cops are pretty chill. So I'm just recommending that or telling you about that. And you'll see me there handing out candy and other little merchandise. And we have just a lot of people that stop by lately and say, man, we listened to the radio show. We're just very impressed. We're having so much fun. They give specific mentions to you and Jane. I want you to know that. And it happens. It happens a lot, especially at Friday Night Live and the Waukesha Farmers Market.
Oh,
So
that's great
you
to
guys
hear.
get some good attention down there. And I want to say something else too. Well, I was in the green room cleaning up here just a little bit before you invited me on your segment. I saw from the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association your Award of Excellence for As Goes Wisconsin. So you guys have been kicking a little butt and you're kind of like under the radar, but you're doing a great job. So thank you. You're doing a great job. So I thought that was really cool.
That was cool.
It was maybe a little while ago, but it was really, really cool to see.
Yeah,
that.
it was
Well-
for we got 3rd place for best interview.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. That's really sweet.
Yeah, sure.
We don't like to brag. We're all from Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're so humble. It's that Wisconsin humble thing. So kind of getting back to the Friday Night Live thing. Waukesha does such a great job with Friday Night Live. The venues are really good. There's some really good music. I went down there and I'll tell you, a couple of weeks ago, there was a band that I happened to be in a spot right in front of People's Park and Mia's restaurant. So I get to kind of hear and see 3 different kind of corners there, close to 5 corners. And this guy started singing Under Pressure by David Bowie and Freddie. Okay, Freddie Mercury. It was so good that I left my booth. Sorry, Sage and Crute. I took off for a little bit and I went and listened to them. And the crowd that they had, I mean, you talk about under pressure. Man, were those guys tight. It was really good. So there's some great music down there. So if you're interested in seeing some live sets, it was really fabulous. There's other ones coming up. So I would encourage people to take some time, come on down. Old school rock and roll music, all the way from oldies to some really rap stuff. It's just really eclectic. It's a lot of fun. And in downtown Waukesha, it's just a beautiful little venue.
It is.
It's so cute down there. It's just like, it's so much fun. So that's what's going on with Friday Night Live. Now that since I built it all up, here's the one thing that kind of like, okay, what happened here? Tonight's the only night that they're doing the inside music. It's not a live event. So next weekend, you get a little better opportunity to do all the things I just talked about. Okay. So I just want to give you a little.
So next
heads up.
week.
Yeah. So
It's
next
your
week.
first time going.
So
go
you can
next
still
week.
you can still go into some inside stuff, but it's a little far and few between. So if you want to stop at Martha Merrow's or the Salty Dog or Magellan's in the Crush Wine Bar, you can still see some inside stuff. But next week you got the full show. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What's next?
Farmers
So,
market.
You got 2
Farmers
minutes.
Market. I'm sorry, we got to step it up here. So the farmers market, it's one of the greatest ones in Waukesha. It's got a great farmers market. There's 436 vendors down there. It's full.
Yeah.
It's great people watching. Jane had the best scone. That was a life-changing thing there a couple of weeks ago.
Maple and bacon scone will change the course of your life.
It's the Pig and Pantry. They do a great job. So the farmers market in Waukesha is fabulous. I would recommend that you come down there. It's a great place to people watch. We have a little contest that I do with shoes and t-shirts. Whoever picks out the best one gets a little thing. So so that's going on. The other farmers market is in Pewaukee. It's a little bit smaller. It's over at Christ Lutheran Church. It's a lot easier to get into. If you want to get in and out, that's a great venue. They got a lot of that stuff too. All the produce is starting to come in. I can't brag enough about the strawberries. Red, plump, delicious, inexpensive. Man, get down there and get some strawberries. It's a beautiful event. I bought a pint of strawberries for $2. Okay. Hand-picked, clean, organic. I mean, I was off the chart. It was really a lot of they were just delicious. Okay. And you can make strawberry margaritas with those, Jane. Just want to let you know.
Good to know. Good to know.
So that kind of covers the farmers market. Did we talk about Riverside Rhythms yet? I don't think we did.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here's my last thing on Riverside Rhythms. Waukesha does a wonderful thing called Riverside Rhythms, and it's a lunch deal. So from 11:30 to 1, they usually have a very small acoustic or a one-man kind of band down there, and they have about 100 chairs set up. Thank you, Civic Theater. They do that. They're right across the street. It's a beautiful venue. It's right down on the Fox River, right next to Lover's Bridge. You got to check that out, okay? Lover's Bridge is cool. So I know we're running out of time here, Jane, but I got to tell you, that little event, if you're from downtown Waukesha or anywhere close, come down and do Riverside Rhythms, 11:30 to 1.
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Johnny Wondermullen. just the salesman.
Yeah, I'm just kind of pitching it because I love it.
Yeah, you love it. And so I'm going to get out to one of the farmers markets before the end of the summer for sure.
Yeah.
And because that sounds like a good one.
People
all right.
ask for you, Kristen.
All right. We're going to give the people what they want. We just
Okay,
got to find
right
a date
on.
that works. All right. We got to wrap it up for the week. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be safe. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.